Hey leadership team members, in this video we're going to be covering how to run a focus zone. Focus zone is a super important thing that we do at the beginning of every class, and it helps our students to kind of center in and get ready for the training. It also helps to make sure that we're aware of anything that we need to know before as we start class, as an instructor or as an assistant. So we're going to start with this lovely little thing right here. Over by our leadership team material, we have a little card, and this card kind of tells us how to run a focus zone. So if you ever forget the steps in this, hopefully you're going to be doing this a lot so you won't forget, but if you ever forget the steps, there's a lovely little card over there that helps you, and it just says focus zone along the top. So when we run a focus zone, the very first thing we want to do is check in with those students. We want to make some sort of a personal connection with them, welcome them to class, let them know that you're glad for them to be here, and we want to check on how they're doing. Generally, I start every class by saying, hey, do we have any injuries or illnesses? These are big deals because they can affect the performance of students, but also we want to make sure that we're protecting students while they're on the floor. So if somebody, tweaked an ankle and we need to be a little more careful with that, they need to be doing exercises a little bit slower. That's information that I or whoever is running the class needs to know as an instructor. That's information that the rest of your helper team needs to know as the assistants, because we don't want to be pushing that student to work harder on some specific exercise. If they've got an elbow injury and we're saying, hey, I want you to do more push-ups, right? That's not great. So we need to know about those injuries. It also helps the students to know that we care about them, okay? Illnesses, same thing. If they've just gotten over a cold, man, their cardio is not gonna be as good as it usually is. That doesn't mean we can't push them a little bit, but we have to be a little more careful and a little more generous with our encouragement because they're working harder that day. Excellent. Okay, so the next thing on our list here is a uniform check. So we want to make sure that people have all the parts of their uniform, that their uniform is worn properly, and that they don't have anything extra that they aren't supposed to have. This is especially important with our white belts because they don't know how to wear their uniform. It's not ingrained into their mind yet. They don't put this uniform on every day like some of you guys do, okay? So we want to go through the uniform. We want to make sure that their pants are on straight, okay? They're not twisted or backwards or something crazy like that, okay? We want to make sure that their dobak is worn correctly and it's not, pulled up here and pulled down in the back and all funky looking, right? Show them how to wear it well. We want to make sure that their undershirt is tucked in properly to their pants. We want to make sure that they have an undershirt. That's important, okay? If you get a student that comes out to the floor and you're like, hey, it doesn't look like you have an undershirt, you're going to need to go grab that, okay? That's an important thing to know. We also want to make sure that their belt is tied properly. We don't want any belts crisscrossed in the back or half hanging off. We don't want one tail that's 12 inches longer than the other. We want to make sure it looks nice. Remember that the way that we dress affects the way that we train, and that's a great time to remind them of how to prepare for their training. Another thing we want to check for is jewelry, watches, necklaces, earrings that dangle down, rings that might have pokey stuff on them, especially if you're dealing with adults. A lot of times, ladies tend to wear bigger rings, and I've seen guys that wear bigger rings, okay? So you want to be checking for that sort of stuff because it can not only damage equipment, it can damage our training partners, and we can damage the jewelry, okay? We don't want to do that. So we want to make sure we're checking for all of those things. All right, one other thing when you're thinking about uniforms is glasses. If you've got somebody that's training with glasses, they need to have something to keep those glasses on. Now, some types of glasses are made with like a sports style fit, so they stick on really well. But for the most part, if they're wearing glasses, they need to have what's called a Metzger, which is a little string that ties those glasses onto your face, okay? Excellent. Next thing we're gonna need is a fire starter. Now this fire starter, man, this is an amazing tool, and there's gonna be a whole different video on this, but make sure that you're assigning that fire starter. We've got a couple of tools for that. Normally, we have what we call a fire starter band. Sometimes people forget to give those back to us at the end of class. If you assign somebody to be the fire starter, you are also responsible for getting that band back from them at the end of class, okay? That being said, sometimes things get busy, things get crazy, and somebody walks off with this. That's okay. We've got a whole roll of stickers over here. This can also be a way to get a fire starter because this will stick on that lapel really well and they can still see it. The fire starter band is designed to help people encourage others. It can also be a great way to highlight a student who's doing a great job in class, maybe a student who really lifts up others around them kind of naturally. You can say, hey, you know what, I've noticed that you're a great encourager. Today you're my fire starter, okay? And go over what that means, how we encourage others, give high fives. It really helps to give them specific tasks like, hey man, I want you to get 20 high fives today, or I want you to give, 15 good jobs, or something like that. That's going to give them something specific to work on throughout the class as a fire starter. Some of these kids don't know how to encourage. It's a great time to pull them up and lead them into becoming a great encourager. All right, finally, we want to ask the question, are you ready for class? Now, here's the deal. If I ask that question 5 minutes before class and the instructor's not ready, and it's not really time to start yet, and we've got 3 or 4 students who haven't come in yet, well, no, they're not ready yet, and neither is the instructor. This is an opportunity to hype them up. So your job as the Focus Zone leader is to sit there and have some conversations with these guys. Maybe go over the theme of the week. Maybe ask them some questions about how they've been able to apply the morals that we're teaching in class to their week. Maybe ask them if they've been exercising. Hey, what was your exercise plan? Did you guys eat healthy this week? These are amazing opportunities to remind them of those things in a pleasant conversational way, okay? If you've got a little bit extra time, use it for those conversations. When you get to that time right before class starts, you're in that 30 seconds before the instructor is going to say, let's go line up. That's your time to hype them up. You can kind of feel the vibe. Maybe they're really tired today, and you can be like, you know what, guys, I know you're really tired, and you can really soup them up and hype them up and get them ready to go. Maybe they're a little bit crazy, and you can be like, guys, I know we're going to be going over some really awesome stuff today, so I need you to be super focused for the instructor. So make sure that you are doing what needs to be done for that group for that day, because it will change. Then you ask that final question, are you ready for class? And get them to give you a great, energetic, enthusiastic, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, because that's going to start the class off on a super positive note, which has a lot to do with pre-framing, which is another video that you're going to see at some point. All right, guys, that's how we run a focus zone. There's a lot of variations on this, but this is the basic framework. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you to run great focus zones. We'll see you in the next one.